Hello and welcome, as it is the first day of February 2018. The United States dollar index against other fiat currency is down for the day, down 88.76. It's doing well today against Bitcoin, as shown here on the daily chart, as it's looking to break out above this resistance and maybe test this level of resistance. Of course, this is the reverse of the Bitcoin chart, and as far as Bitcoin holders are concerned, I'm not too concerned about any small little rally because I don't think it's going to succeed long term. So therefore, Bitcoin in itself has broken down barely below the support level in at 9,100. So it's a little bit below the 18. Will this be a bottom? Maybe, but it does look as if it should maybe have a little bit of a further decline over the next few days or a couple of weeks. Gold is, well, not really doing too much, but it's holding in its gains thus far. Silver is taking a little bit of a hit within a barely rising neutral correctionary phase over the last 5 or 6 days, as it is still holding on to the gains that it had in early December. The S&P 500, it's holding its previous 2-day losses. Of course, it's got smaller volatility. So then, those are the rest of the markets. Let's get on with a whole bunch of alternate cryptocurrency codes. There is a disclaimer in the more information box. Basically, everything is within your own risk, own reward. This is the drawings I had in from the previous time when I was looking at this, talking about a break of this support level. So it's now got okay move below. I'm looking to buy this roughly at around the 140 handle, and I do have a buy order in for that point. But it's at the stage now where, hey, you can start dabbling in if you think that some rallies are going to be up forthcoming, which I do. So this is why I'm buying a lot of different cryptos. Some now, some I'm looking for cheaper prices. This one, of course, looking for the cheaper. ADA, it at 4,500 has broken down below this level of support. A decent size move lower, but I think it should at least make a move down to this 4,000 level. There is also the case of a decent size gap fill, meaning it could very easily come back and test this 3,000 level. I got nothing in play for this right now. Actually, no, I do have a small position looking to buy at 3,000. Sorry about that. Let's move on to the next one. Let's look at AGRS, which is in at around 27,000 Satoshi on the daily term time frame. After this range bound market we had, it is breaking out now above the 18 average. When we switch this on to a more longer term time frame, it's breaking out nicely. So it looks like it might have some possible upside target available, but it is on any moves already, as it is anyway, a little overextended and would be more so if it made any type of moves where the price action would basically come, like any type of 30, 40, 50+% gains. This thing would be more overextended as it already is. But because of this correctionary move and the early stages of a bullish setup, I would rather be a buyer than a seller at this time. Moving on to ARDR, ARDR, which has broken down below this support level. I'm looking a move to come down to this 5,000 level, so I think it's broken a little bit below, going from 75 to 65, but that's only 1,000 basis points or 1,000 Satoshi, or a mere like 12-13%. So I'm going to be looking for a little bit of a further decline before I look to get in on this one. AUR, or Aurora coin, showing a nice little setup of matching highs, but consistently having nice higher lows. Is this ready to get past this congestion area from September? Maybe make a run up towards this 35 area? A question mark, I don't know, but it's got a nice little bullish setup right now. BNT, or Bancor, there's the sideways consolidation that started at the 10th of January up in here. Now it's had this nice move of holding some higher lows, or making this 18 average of lows increasing. It has just broken past this resistance field today back down to the key resistance area where it came from. And so we've had a little bit of resistance here. Maybe it can have another push higher, but again, it's already a little overextended. Because of this correctionary move, you can make a case where we could have another leg higher, but each leg higher makes this more and more overextended. Bitcoin Cash on the daily time frame, not much volatility, that's for sure. A lot of the major staples are this way. And is it breaking down below the 18 average of lows? It looked like it might. You might have some decent sized move that might bring it down to maybe the 117 to 100 handle. BLK, Black Coin, I think it might have a little bit of further decline, but it's also at a point where breaking down below this low, you need a significant leg lower. So usually we're somewhere around here where it came from. So maybe this thing might come down to about the 33 mark as a possibility. Cloak with a break of the support level. Decent sized leg from this point. Maybe it might go a little bit further down, but not a bad time to enter into a position based on such and a more longer term time frame. This thing is holding in there pretty well compared to some of the other ones, aka Capricorn, which on its long term time frame just keeps on falling, but it has a lot of the good up and down moves. It has fallen below its major level of support around the 72 handle. 61 isn't that much of a leg lower when I consider, especially with the size of this move up top. So I would be looking for a move maybe to the 44 or the previous low in at 23. Here's Dash. I mean, it's really not doing much. So let's move on to the next one after. And we'll go with Gigabyte, DGB, which had this move up to the 18 average of highs. Now falling down to the 18 of lows, which has been a major level of support in here at the end of January, as well as for a couple days in the middle. Breaking down below this level, this thing could fall easily to the mid 300s, which would be a loss of about 30%. That would also mean that the average buyer in November and into December would also only be doing better than double. There's massive volatility when you see markets go from like 80 up to like, well, 10x value. You got to expect decent pullbacks when you get that kind of volatility, and you can profit from such. Moving on. DNT, District 0x. This level of support is now barely being taken out, so I'd be looking for maybe a move to come down towards in the 700s. Looks just blindly looking at it. It's a decent sized leg, but it does look like further decline might come into play. Moving on to the EFL, Electronic Golden. And here's a level of support from before. It stayed within this 18 average of bands for quite some time now. For the last couple of days, it has left it to the downside. Maybe it might make a short-term move up to the 2900 or so handle. But I'll be looking to buy this if it comes down anywhere near 2000. EMC contains huge risk, huge reward. Here's something that had a huge run up higher, has outperformed so many other alternate coins that are getting their asses kicked right now. This one's in at 49,000. You could have a key area where it came from by losing well more than half your value, or losing half your value anyway. But when you take a look at this on a more longer term time frame, you're at an area that has been major resistance before. If you crack through it, this thing could have the potential for some extreme gains, because there'd be something to it if it actually didn't have much of a sell-off after this kind of move and it then broke resistance. But definitely way overextended at this point with EMC. Ethereum, which is actually doing quite well right now, is up to 0.117 against that of the Bitcoin chart, as it's now approaching after this consolidation period. And here the previous level of about the 0.15 number, we'll say. FLDC is folding coin, and this is the third test since the decline of this level. You can make a case of a head and shoulders pattern with this completing the right shoulder. However you look at it, breaking down by this support, which is close to where it is, this thing could easily fall from the 170 to the 235 handle as its next key level of support. Geocoin, I'm looking to get in on this if I can get down to the 20 handle. And it's still down decently. Just that with the size of some of these declines, we can see this move in here, this move. Does it look to me as if this thing is ready to go up? Maybe. And you can very easily maybe get a short-term scalp even if it doesn't bottom from here to different areas, 18 average of highs and maybe even a little bit higher. But I'll be looking to get in at about the 20 number. GUP is guppy, and I'm looking to get in at around the 32. It's already decently down below this level of support that broke down. Decent size red candle down, well below the 18 average of lows. And my general strategy is buying these things when they're down a lot and sell them when they're up a lot. And it's pretty easy to determine it, but with the 18 average band that I used, the lower one being the front-weighted 18 average of the last 18 lowest prices, and same thing with the last 18 highest ones. That one's below it, especially significantly a bit below, then it's oversold and I look to be a buyer. When it's above it, I look to be a seller. I've already went through so many different examples over the last week or so within this channel, and now that all these markets are heading lower for the last couple of days, I've been buying altcoins, and I'm going to be looking to do so as we continue on further as these coins decline. Let's move on to the next code. And it is IGNIS. This is, I guess, day 3 of the market. So I can, if I wanted to, I can see, is it worth day trading? Hourly time frame is just getting going. It's starting to go down, so no. But what I want to do is give this thing a few weeks and then determine if it's something that I'm going to want to get into later on. IOC, something I did buy, which is because it is significantly down below the 18 average. And it's also significantly lower than where the last key support level was. So I got in on a little bit of it there. If the price action goes lower, then probably somewhere around the a little under the 20 handle, maybe even previous low. But no, I'll probably look towards buying again at around the 20 handle if it continues on with further decline. Ion here now has had a bunch of these lower highs while it's been making a nice pattern of higher lows. So that's developing symmetrical formation, symmetrical pattern. And it's a major decision point because if the buyers don't come in, then this thing could very easily break down and test its previous congestion area into the low 20s. But then if this market can manage to hold and stay above the 18 average of highs, which is currently in the 50s, and it breaks above, then it's no man's land breaking above this resistance. Who knows if it could do a 3x, 4x, even 2x, or however much of a gain that it can do. Even as price action is concerned right now with this big volatility, when the price is now in at 38,000, if you're looking to sell as it barely breaks the 18 average of highs, you're looking to sell in around 55. That's a difference of about 17,000, or well over 40% of a move. So like I state, a lot of volatility within these markets. And especially this one particular day here, you go from 25 up to over 70. That was almost a 3x gain. And almost all the codes can have volatility when so desires, I guess. KMD, I still have a good position of this. I still am a believer that this will be doing well. But it is barely breaking down below this 18 average of lows. I'll be looking for support to come in at around the 46 handle if there's further decline. Tough to say how it's going to handle from this point, if it's going to come here next or if it's going to have a break or move up towards the 63 level. With core, here's the interesting situation. A move that rallied up and now it's back down to this low support level. When you see this, you want to shorten it out. Maybe put like an hour time frame in. So this rally, this buying got rejected immediately. So that's a very bearish signal. And within such, you'd be looking for this to continue a move. And I'd be looking right now at previous low, maybe just because of price and numbers is what pays. A decent sized leg, you might think is around 33, and you realize, oh, I can easily get rid of that at 46 or even 50. Selling that at 50 will enable you to get better than a 50% gain, or around a 50% gain. But yeah, definitely a bearish signal, and it's been having a lot of support issues within this below 40,000 area. LMC, this is a typical, not so difficult, predictable situation like Komodo. This thing had this consolidation for quite some time and has now barely slipped back down to this previous level after having extreme volatility on this decline as well as the rise higher. It's given back an extreme amount of its gains, sort of like what NXT is at. And if this thing goes down, you could very easily say, okay, all-time low, not all-time lows, but December lows. Maybe 500 is a possibility, but it looks like another leg lower would be the case. When I see this, I want to know what its long-term time frame is. If this is basically a shit coin, then I don't even know if I want to buy at previous low. This thing is chopping back forth, up and down. So it's something that I think is definitely worthwhile to consider buying below the 18 average of lows. But that meant in the situation like this, especially if you were selling in here, you had some buybacks in here, but you couldn't sell it. And you don't want to buy in here again when you already bought here before. Instead, you're waiting for a significant leg lower, at least down to here. At least I wouldn't buy until at least then. LSK has had a big rally yesterday, but is now starting to come back. Last area where it came from is in at the 21,000 area. Would there be further decline there? I don't know. If we look at this on the more long term, we even have a much bigger area for where it came from. And at about the range of about 130 something, like 133, to about 175 or 166. So 133 to 166. So a little bit of deeper pullback. That's where I'd be looking for this support, because this move since December is still well over extended. But if there's only a little bit of selling and buyers have no problem bringing it back up, well, only price pays, and well, that's what we've seen. A big rally just a couple days down. They pop it up with a small higher high, a little bit of a decline, and then they bring it up with even a bigger rally. We go from 238 up to the 333 handle. That's a gain of like well over 30%. So therefore, if the sellers don't come in any mass forms and take any, or even attempt to fill any of this gap fill, because when this went up in here, there was all of this gap fill in here, and it only filled it down to here. So at some point, it's going to have a decent move on the 3-day chart and really all time frames below the key 18 average of lows. But the question is, when is that point? I wouldn't want to be a buyer at this time, but who knows? Maybe you'll have some spectacular gains coming. Litecoin, I was looking at this a lot last night thinking, okay, so what's the price going to come down to if Bitcoin really does go to the 7,500 level? Because I know the big level on Litecoin is the 100 handle, even 85 and change. But right, there's the 80 right there. So the key 100 level, and then you even got a little bit of a deeper level at 62. Gap fills don't always have to have the big hit, because like I stated, as long as buyers are ready to come in, then the market doesn't have to go down. And well, back in here, you can start to say about all of this gap fill down at $11 and at 14. Well, it never hit. Then the market goes higher because the buyers come in. Now that gap fill moves even higher into the 20s. But that didn't happen. Market, of course, had rallied up to this 200. It's filled down all the way to 144. 100 is a psychological even number. It's also this level of the resistance, pretty much, that it came down to. But I would not expect that if the market does go down there, that it's going to stay down there. I think Litecoin is going to have a spectacular year. So with that being stated, if Litecoin goes down to like 80 bucks, 70 bucks, 100, and Bitcoin is 75, maybe even a little lower, I'm thinking it's between the 100 to 130.30 handle is where that level would be. And just by looking at it, 130 is a conservative level for a break below these two key support levels. And then 100 represents this previous level. And 100 was big support back in 2017. Also, what's interesting is the failed move, fast move, and a double one in this situation. And I think that, oh my goodness, I was looking at this last night, that if this plays through, do we have a double fast move? Because 100 was that big level in which it tested here, tested here. So there's your failed breakdown. Now it had a fast move back to this level, it resisted it, but then it had this move in here, and this was really quick and then fast back to the upside. That if in the relatively quick period of time, and it hasn't been that long when you consider the size of this sideways action, this is the 3-day chart, so this has been, what is it, a couple of months, maybe a month and change. And that if it breaks out above this, you could have a probable very interesting move towards the upside. I've got a decent amount of Litecoin. I've thought about why, well, just recently I don't need as much Bitcoin because I can buy a lot of things with Litecoin these days. So for the amount of Bitcoin I want to have just to use as money, I can technically have it in Litecoin. So I thought, oh, buy some more. No, I got a lot. But why not wait until the prices come down here and then execute some buy orders right now? That's what I'm planning on doing. So let's move on to the next code. Well, we got a little over 20 minutes, so we'll try to go through the next little bit a little quicker. We'll go Neos coin next, NEOS, which has broken down this level of support range area of about the 72 down to about the 64 handle, now down to 60, barely below this point. Big key area which it came from was 40. So when you look at this chart, you have to ask yourself, is this something that you want to buy at 40? Is this something you want to buy at previous low? Is this something you want to buy on a lower low or nothing at all? When we look at this on a longer term time frame, this is hanging in there pretty good. So you can make a case just even on this. Well, now you're barely below this. You can definitely start to think about getting in. So yes, I'll be looking to become a buyer at the previous level of key support in at around the 43 handle. NLG, something in which I bought on its move lower, I'll be looking to sell. If this can get to the 18 average of highs today, around 2,300, I'm going to sell. However, I'm going to need a move down to about the low, about 1100s, 1200 area to buy some more thereafter. PDC, oh, I'm in this one. When you look at the history, and we're talking about have your sell orders ready. That's important with this. This happens all the time. Over and over again. You have the situations. I don't know. I mean, it just keeps happening. It's almost like a cat who keeps meowing over and over. You think they're going to stop? No, it just keeps happening. So until it does, I mean, look at all of these ones during the August rally. The secret with a code like this is to have your sell orders in noticeably higher than the 18 average of highs. One idea might be to put one a little bit above it and maybe one or two further higher. And you'll look to buy it back. Well, 18 average of closes, 18 average of lows, below it. But this thing keeps doing it. Let's move on to the next one. PTC, Peseta coin, as it now approaches the previous area of support in around the 660 area. Will it hold? Question mark, because you'd expect there's a chance you can at least come up to this point. If you go down further, you want to see long term, how is this thing? And it's holding up well, so it's something you want to consider getting into. And I do have a buy order in for this at some point, but I think it was pretty low at 600. 600 I think is where it is in it. QRL, quantum resistance ledger, is at a break below this key support. decent sized red candle down day, a little bit of a consolidation post day, and this one is an okay red one down. So it looks like it's already a decent leg lower. It's at this key level of resistance. It could even go down further to here and the support. So maybe within the next little while, this thing might go down a little bit further down to the 12.5 area, because I see yesterday's consolidation point being just a little bit higher than where it is. This tells me as if short term there's going to be availability maybe for lower prices. So I'd see a move like this, a 15, go up to 17. So that tells me right there that it's just breaking down below the support. I could expect to maybe get another 10-12% of a decline and cheaper prices. Next up is Rise, which has just broken down below this key level of support. So this one's easy and by the book. There's no second guessing this one. Buying here at the next key Fibonacci level of support, which is where this one was in at. And the previous level for where it came from. This code here overall in the last little while has been doing well. So this is something I'm confidently going to place an order with and trade on. Salis SLS, which has also had some interesting up and down moves. Lately has just been going up and down within this 18 average. I guess if you can try to pick away at it, 575 to about 690 is the range. So there's an okay amount of gains, but nah. SBR is spread coin, and this is down quite a bit. And I'm going to be looking to get in around 52. I think that representing some key Fibonacci support. Code like this, it's nice and choppy with big up and down moves. You know there's a risk that this thing is going to nothing in the next few months or weeks or days. But this thing keeps going up and down in this mountains of type of movements that I want to get in on some of these selling. When did the selling start in here? Start of the year, as if I'm looking too much into that. But definitely I got a buy order in at that number. Steam, I actually sold some of this. I sold it at this exact high, or pretty much at it, as I had a sell order in for a previous high, and it hit. So yes, I was surprised in my order book to see that it got filled. But I don't want to buy it back unless it comes down to the 18 average of lows, which is in at roughly around 44,000 at this time frame. As far as this market is concerned, if it can get above this area, I'll be looking for this thing to go up to about the 94 handle. SWT was at the 18 average of lows, 32. Still well overextended to the downside from this move. Still a gap fill from this overall gain, but this uptrend line still barely holding. However, if the 18 average of lows to me doesn't find support, I'd be looking somewhere around the 22 handle to around high 21s, 22,000 Satoshi as a support level, but more importantly for me, where I buy next. THC further decline as we have this red candle down, a little bit small green candle yesterday, and now it's going back down lower. These hemp style coins have extreme up and down volatility that even though it's decently below the 18 average, I want to wait till a lot lower of prices. This thing went from like 200 up to like over 5,000, enjoying over a 20x gain. So if this thing only falls from like 5,000 to 2,000, that's not enough for me. I'll look more towards 1,000 or so at getting in. Then I'll be more tempted to do so. UBIC is holding in there still within the 18 average. And this level of resistance, if it can hold and stay above it for a while, technically it's still doing that, and it would do so if it maintains within the 18 average. That breaking through this resistance would be this resistance in here, I'll be looking for a price target next to come between 72 and 92. UNB is unbreakable, very good up and down moving code. There's a possibility failed move, fast move, so interesting how far this might go down if support gets broken. But this is the possible failed breakout to the upside. It's had a fast move now back down to the previous support level. that if this area does give in, I'd probably be looking for a move down to about a 6,000 Satoshi, or maybe about a 50% down decline. And within this type of code, all of these major up and down movements make it very, very awesome to try to buy low and sell high within its volatility. VOX, which is Vox. Here's a situation where it came down to support, 4 days up above the 18 average of highs, decent sized red candle down and follow through again. This is a situation with a lot of up and down movements breaking down below here. This thing could probably fall to about 1600 or so. I do play this, but I also will be looking to add more to this, of course, but only if it goes down to the 1500 handle. VTC, or Vercoin, continues to grind its way towards the downside. This level of support, which was originally placed at 39.5, was retested again here at about 35 change. Has been tested again for quite some time, but obvious downtrend line, and it's been supporting this key area where it came from, the one below that. I guess you'd be looking between 16,000 and 20 as a potential support level. XEM, New Economic Movement, which had this support level here in January and also came back to it again in the end of January as well. So twice hit, now third hit, as it continues its downtrend motion as well. It has been supporting where it came from with its Christmas highs. So now we'd be looking for a move probably down towards this area where it came from in about the 4,000 to 4,500 handle as its next move. XMY, Myriad, I'm looking to get in this, and I want to get in at about 100 or so. I don't know if I can get a move like this, but this thing has been just very wild within some of its historical moves. And the final one will be Verge, XVG, which is now back to its previous level of support as it continues this obvious downtrend. With like all of these markets, for any type of bullish behavior, you kind of want to see it just hold and stay above this 18 average, but that's easier said than done, because that's what I'd be saying here. Oh, it needs to hold and stay above, and then you're like, oh, what's just happened here? And then it just goes straight up. Like, this goes up quicker than an elevator goes up in a standard office or apartment building, but that's what you expect out of these coins. So with a lot of these declining prices, myself as a trader, I'm looking to accumulate as many of these as I can and get myself in position to be able to get the best possible profits amongst the volatility that it's going to present to myself. There is nothing to indicate that all of these wild moves that I've been showing over these videos are going to come to a halt, or even any type of major modification anywhere in the near term. So there's so many times where you can play for very quick 30-50% gains and work yourself out to get several plays on a code where you get 2x, 4x, 5x gains. Wait for something to fall 70% to buy back. There's so many of the options available, but it's always about staying focused and understanding the situation, recognizing it, what can I do for my best within such, and then executing a game plan. You know, the Super Bowl's coming up this weekend, and it's just awesome listening to Tom Brady, who might be one of the best sport athletes I've watched during my lifetime, which is the 1980s and on. Just listening to all the stuff that he talks about, a real professional talking about all the type of stuff, about all the mentality that you need to get yourself to become basically a winning player. And this is a game, and well, you don't have to be the best in this business, and quite frankly, there's so many people playing it, you're not even going to be close for the most part. But there's a lot of opportunities to do very, very well, to be amongst one of the top traders even. That's what I like to try to work towards doing. And yeah, so thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. And oh yeah, by the way, later on I'm probably going to do a Super Bowl prediction, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, we'll do that now. Patriots, very tiny value, laying the points on New England, but I'm not betting it at all. Take care.